Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tactical Response Talks. I'm your host, Heather Glover, and I'm here today with Brickell Clark. Otherwise, you might know her as American Gun Chick, the owner of American Honey Badger. That's a all-women's firearms training company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but primarily women as the focus.
Yeah.
Recently, even a reality TV show star,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Didn't you do the
Yeah.
Surviving Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, big time gun tuber, social media guru, right?
Yeah. I mean, all that and then some, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got a couple of questions for you. We're gonna kind of start from the beginning. Were you always into guns and training, Brickell? Like, I never really got to talk to you about kind of where you got started and what got you off on the foot into the firearms industry.
Yeah, so that's a good question because people ask me that a lot because they assume that my dad, had a bunch of guns and would take me shooting, and I grew up shooting, and I actually didn't. My dad is pro gun. He had some guns laying around, but we never touched them. He never took us shooting. I never really grew up in like the gun culture.
Mm-hmm.
Not until me and Joe we met, and then we just decided that we wanted to like start a YouTube channel randomly. It was kind of more Joe's idea, and I was like, "Hey, that sounds kind of cool. Let's do it."
Yeah.
So we were just kind of having fun in the backyard, just plinking around, shooting like a 22, shooting some cans, being goofy. And then, of course, since I didn't grow up with that, I didn't know anything about guns, so I didn't know how to handle them. I didn't even know safety. I didn't know how to accurately hit something with a gun. And it wasn't until your dad, actually, James Yeager, reached out to me. And I think it was like getoffthex.com. I commented on something and then he commented on something else. I can't remember exactly, but we got in contact and he was like, "Hey, I want to invite you out to some training on me for free, 9 days." He signed me up for, I think it was like the fight. Oh, no, it was Force on Force first. So
Yeah.
that was my first ever class that I ever took. So that's like a really scary class to take for the first time,
It is. That's like going head first, like deep
Yeah,
end.
because I didn't have any training, and so I'm like, this is gonna go bad.
Yeah.
So it was that, and then it was, uh, and then it was the pistol class. Why am I brain farting? Fighting pistol, and then advanced fighting pistol, and then medical at the end. So
Oh, very
it was
cool.
about 9 days of just all that training, and after that, I was like, all right, this is awesome. Like now, I kind of see like the light bulb went on in my head, and I was like, all right, now I see like that training's important. This stuff is really cool. So after that, I just kept coming back to tactical response, and James pretty much told me like, hey, anytime you want to come out here and take training, because I was also making videos for plugging tactical response on my channel.
Yeah.
So he's like, anytime you want to come out. So I took advantage of that, and I kept coming out and took all kinds of classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also taken classes with other people, lots of other instructors, and it kind of like just came out of nowhere. I didn't expect to get that opportunity from James or from anyone really. And it kind of, the interest grew from being invited out. And then it just really so it kind of was just like
It was
destiny, I
like
guess.
a natural evolution that you just kind of went with it. You're like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, like it wasn't planned. It wasn't in my future goals or anything. Like it just kind of came to me and,
so you just kind of ran with it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm really grateful and happy and excited that it did because number one, it's important, A lot of people that don't have guns, I feel like they don't realize how important it is to carry a gun and train with a gun and be able to protect your family. So, yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Oh, very cool. So let's look. So what do you think would be some of the biggest challenges? Because you're a woman in this industry, right? And this is, I mean, at least for me, it seems like it's a very male-dominated industry. Have you had to have have you had any real issues because you're a woman? Like maybe, like for me, I'm not a firearms instructor necessarily, but I grew up in the industry, and I personally have found some of the guys will kind of be like, she doesn't really know what she's talking about because I'm a woman, and so they just kind of immediately assume like, oh, let me show you how to do that, honey. And I'm like, I'm good, but thank you so much. Have you found that to be true at all for you?
Yeah. Do you still get that even when they know that you're James's daughter?
I do, yeah.
Because I feel like they would just assume that you would know because you're James's daughter. So that's funny that they still do that.
Yeah, no, like some of the people will assume that I actually know more than I do when they know that I'm James's daughter.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, my dad was like, take this and now go put the thing on the thing and press the thing, right? And so there's a lot of like gear oriented questions that people want to talk to me about that I'm like, I don't even know the name of that thing that you're trying to talk to me about because gear's at the bottom of the list, right? Like a tactical
Yeah.
response, we have mindset, tactic, skill, and gear. Gear's at the bottom. It's still important. Like, don't come after me.
Yeah.
But James made it to where like we didn't even like it just wasn't even on my radar, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
he gave me that. That's what is the best. Otherwise, you wouldn't have given it to me, and I just go with it. So it's
Right.
like it's always one extreme or the other for me, where it's like she knows everything. I don't have to help her at all. And I'm like, no, please still help me some. Like I
Yeah.
don't know that as much as you think I do. I know enough, but like please still help. Or they think that I know nothing because I'm a woman.
Yeah, you know what? I feel the exact same way, and I get the same thing too. Some people either put me on a pedestal and they think I know everything, or they think I know nothing because I'm a girl. But I'm
Mhm.
also a girl that likes to, wear makeup and dye her hair and get her hair done and wear crop
Yeah.
tops. And apparently, combining those things with guns is equals gun bunny and equals
Oh
terrible,
my gosh,
horrible.
right?
You know.
Yeah.
So I've gotten all of it. I've gotten called a gun bunny, and a lot of it is from people on the internet too. Nobody will
Mhm.
ever really say stuff to my face because, they're cowards. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
why
that's what
they,
you'll find.
yeah. So but just every YouTuber in general is going to get hate. Like your dad
Yeah.
would talk about it. He would get hate all the time from people too.
Mhm.
But like, I think just me being a girl, like, I'm just going to get hate, you know?
Yeah. And so that's actually something I had for later, but we're already on the topic. Whenever so we're on social media. I know that you're on it quite a bit as well. And I don't care. You could have some of the most wholesome content on the planet, and you're still gonna get people just being fucking
Yeah.
hateful and just trying to talk shit. Like you're gonna get a hater if you're putting yourself out there enough. How have you kind of dealt with a bunch of that hate? That I mean, especially again as a woman in the industry, a lot of guys will be like, "You don't know," especially if they don't know you. You know,
Yeah.
how do you kind of deal with all of that? Like some of the negative feedback that might come with that.
So a lot of times I either ignore it, address it, or just laugh about it because
Right?
a
Yeah.
lot of times it'll be like YouTube comments or Instagram comments. And I am somebody that doesn't keep my mouth shut. Like if I don't agree with something and I think that this is wrong, like some of the stuff with like the Black Rifle Coffee guys and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw all that, but it was like a big beef on Instagram and all that stuff. And I spoke
Mhm.
my mind and I said what I believed in because I feel like as gun people, that's kind of what we do and that's what
Right,
we have our
yeah.
platforms for. So when people are, hating on me, I might argue my point if I feel like it's something valid. But if it's just like a stupid comment like, oh, you've gotten fat or your nose is big,
Right. You're just like,
then I'm like, cool story,
yeah, like, "Cool
Like,
story, bro," like, whatever.
yeah, like there was one guy that used to in the beginning of my channel and then like for a couple years used to comment on like every single video, women
Mhm.
shouldn't have guns. They should be making sandwiches in the kitchen. And I'm
Mhm.
like, obviously that's a troll and he's trying to get attention, but
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so stupid. But I would just say like don't let it get to you because
Yeah.
if you are kind of a soft person and you let everything get to you and you like are easily cracked kind of,
Mhm.
then YouTube's probably not for you or social
Right.
media because like you said, everyone's gonna hate on someone. So
Yeah. Well, and what we've kind of found is that, like, at first we just totally ignored it, and I was just like, "Oh, whatever," right? Like, I'm not even gonna engage with your stupid shit because, like, one, it's not true, like most of the
yeah.
time you're like, whatever. But now we found like engaging them a little bit drives the content even more a little,
Yeah.
and we've taken some of them to kind of get to play off of a little bit. And
Yeah.
like recently we made that it was like that little funny short with the sad song that you would see on like the sad puppy commercials or whatever.
Yeah.
And we were able to take it and like make it into like funny content. And
Yeah.
so we've got to do that a little bit, and we actually kind of get to have fun with some of the hate comments now, where before we
Yeah.
kind of ignored them, and now we kind of use it as like it's fuel. Like
Yeah.
now we get to use it to get even more views.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too because yeah, it does like if you're arguing back and forth, that's comments adding up to your video.
Mhm.
So that definitely helps. So just
Yeah.
so I do that too.
Yeah, well, and it works, and
Yeah.
it's kinda funny.
And then I think one time I made a video with James and I was like, "All right, hit the thumbs up button." And then he's like, "Or the thumbs down button." And I looked at him like, "What?" And he's like, "It actually engages your post if there's a lot of thumbs ups and thumbs down."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, thumbs down."
Yeah, I mean, it's what is the saying? Like, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of true, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know that James made that video, the pack your bags video, and at the time, like, I was pretty young whenever he made it, and it went viral, and
Yeah.
I remember everyone at the shop was kind of like freaking out. They didn't know what was going to happen, and we got so many sales. Right. And they
Yeah.
try to spin it as a bad thing, but we got a ton of sales and a lot more people had eyes on it and they ended up coming and training here. And it actually worked out in our favor.
Yeah. And the right people that see it will become like super fans and support you die
Yeah.
hard because they believe in your message, they like what you're saying. So those type of people will be the people that are like, I will support you to the end, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I also wanted to ask if the inverse was true, being a woman into the industry. Do you think that there's any like perks? Does it help out in any way, do you
Um,
think?
Definitely. I would say that there are pros and cons, like the whole gun bunny thing and
Hmm.
people thinking you don't know anything because you're a girl. And then there are pros, just being a girl, I feel like in general helped me get views to start off with.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really helped my channel skyrocket because you can play on the whole gun bunny thing,
Yeah.
because men majority of people searching gun videos are men and men
Hmm.
do like women too. So,
Yeah.
they're gonna go click those videos. So
Well, and I think too that there's not as many women in like doing this thing, right? And so seeing like for me, I enjoy watching women who are using guns or shooting and are interested in the same things as me, right? And
yeah,
whenever you see a bunch of the videos and they're men, then you kind of feel like maybe they can't fully relate to me because like,
exactly, yeah.
carrying as a woman it is a little bit hard to conceal the gun. We have different things that we kind of worry about.
Yeah.
And so it's just not as relatable and being able to find someone that you relate to better.
That's true because when I was like 9 months pregnant, I did a how to carry while pregnant video,
Mhm.
and I had like a fanny pack under my bump, and I carried my gun that way and everything. And there's no men making videos like that, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna get all the views.
Yeah,
So
cuz it's a lot more I think niche than, the men's videos
yeah,
are because it's just a smaller market.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so have you seen any big changes in the industry with women? Because I know here at Tactical Response, we've actually seen an increase in women like showing up to our classes. Have you found that to be true with you and your classes as well?
Yeah, that is true. I feel like a lot more women are getting involved, and a lot more women are purchasing firearms, taking classes. I recently did a class with GOA, Gun Owners of America,
Uh-huh.
and they had me be the lead instructor, and there was 75 women signed up.
Oh, that's
So not all of
awesome.
them made it. I think like 60 made it, but
Yeah.
that's still a lot of women sign up for a class, and I'm seeing a lot of women get into it. So
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
that's kind of why I started my channel too. Well, that's why I was continuing it is because I wanted to influence other women to get out there and train and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and show them that it's not just guys out here training at Tactical Response, it's girls too. So,
Yeah, no, very cool. So, you primarily do teach women in your classes, right? Like that's
yeah.
what it's more marketed towards. So, do you think that there like is there any big difference whenever you're training men versus women? Like, do you find, is there any maybe like a technique that you go over with them? The thing that I think of off the top of my head is a lot of women like to wear dresses and they want to dress really nice. And so I know me, you, and Kayla did that. The Magnums and Mascaras class that was all women, and we
Yeah.
talked about different carrying options, right? Like, hey, if you're gonna be wearing a sundress, but you still want to have your gun, like a fanny pack is a great option to kind of still have on your person. And we
Yeah.
talked about how you could do that and how to safely and effectively do it. Is there anything else that you kind of talk to whenever you have the women in your classes that are, I don't know, more specific to women than it would be maybe a man?
Yeah, I kind of just the same thing with you. I kind of show them options and ways to carry because sometimes we want to, wear a dress, so we have the fanny pack, or we want to wear sweatpants and no belt, so we have the ulti clip. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of go over the same thing, and then I kind of just really harp on like, you don't have to completely change, your style or who you are, because I've had some friends and some girls that are like, I would carry a gun, but I don't want to change my clothes. Like, I don't want to change
Right.
the way I dress, and I'm like, don't change, don't change for the gun, have the gun change for you. So,
Right. Yeah.
like wear a fanny pack, or they have the flashbang, or they have like thigh holsters where you can put it on the inside of your leg. Like there's different options. So I try to really
Mhm.
like harp on that and let girls know like, hey, the community's gonna tell you like, hey, you have to change yourself. You got to be more butch, is what I call it, kind of.
Right, yeah.
But you can still be a girl and be in your feminine era and still carry a
Right.
gun.
Yeah, because it does kind of feel like whenever women come to the classes that they're like, oh, I gotta wear like the cargo pants and, the
Yeah,
gun shirts and my hair pulled back. And it's like, dude, like, wear this pink sparkly belt. Like, you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like, totally lean into your feminine side. Like, you can have
yeah,
your nails painted and wear your makeup to the range. Like, it's totally
exactly.
fine. Like you can look really nice and still like, carry a gun and think that,
Yeah.
self-defense is important.
I thought about this would make a great video, maybe doing the fight or why do I keep brain farting? The pistol class.
Oh, fighting
Fighting
pistol?
pistol.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been a long day. Doing fighting pistol wearing a dress. Maybe that'd be a great video
Yeah.
and
So we actually had Nicole Sauce. Did you see her presentation over cheese making at alumni? Were you
um
here for that portion?
no, I missed
Okay.
that and I'm sad about it.
Oh no, so we recorded it so you can watch it.
Oh, okay.
But she actually took fighting pistol in a dress.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Did she
because
film it?
I don't think so. I think she came back and kind of did a short of kind of what her setup looked like. But she said
Yeah.
that she wears dresses a lot, and so she wanted to be able to get some reps in with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Charles Thacker was just here, and he did Force on Force, and he did it in Crocs and shorts because he said that's what he wears most of the time at home, and
Yeah.
so he wanted to get reps in like with what he would normally wear.
Yeah, and realistically, I feel like that's really smart because a lot of people, when they come to take classes, I've seen that they have this whole rig set up and they have
Mm-hmm.
the gun that they normally don't carry because that's like their special
Yeah,
gun.
they're
And
like showing it off.
yeah, and then they have like their tactical boots and they have all these things and they look like they're ready for war. But I'm like, but do you dress like that every day? Like, do you dress like
Right.
that when you go to the grocery store, when you go drop your kids off at school? And if the answer is no, you should really
Mm-hmm.
dress how you always dress because
Right.
dress for the occasion, right?
Yeah. Well, because you're not gonna have all that stuff with you,
Yeah.
right? Like, even like you see it really bad in our rifle class. Whenever the guys come and take rifle, they'll have like their drop leg holster and like the chest rig with like all the mags. Like the mags are
Yeah.
just everywhere. And I remember the whenever I went and took the rifle class for the first time, I had a chest rig and that's all I had, and then I had my inside the waistband holster for my shield, and then I had my rifle. And the guy next to me just had, he had the same thing minus the chest rig, but he just would put his mags in his pocket.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's what I would normally do. And I'm like, you're right. And so, like, I
Yeah.
was like, I probably, like, I just need to go ahead and just not even have this. Like, it would be so much better to get those reps in, just pulling them
Yeah.
out because the orientation matters with how you put the mags in
Yeah.
your pocket. And you won't think of that if you haven't already done it,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you have to have them turned a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And so if especially like most stuff happens in the dark, you go to pull out the mag, bullets are facing the wrong way, and now you're
Exactly. Yeah.
fumbling and you won't get those reps in unless you have put them in your pocket and practice that way.
Yeah. And if you have all that rig and all those details, you're kind of setting yourself up to make the class easier
Yeah.
than if you would just be casual
Mhm.
normally. So I think you're kind of like hurting yourself if you do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think so too. So I know recently, like I say recently, how old is Colt now? Like 2?
He's 2 and I think like 3 or 4 months, something like that.
Yeah. So with that, like I didn't really get into guns until after I had a kid, right? And once I had a kid, I was like, dude, now someone else's life, like I am
Yeah.
responsible for, right? And that's the
Exactly.
moment that I was like, I can't just do this for fun. Like I need to know, I need to be able to save him and take care of him. Like I will fucking kill someone for this living being, right?
Exactly.
Like I've got to know how to do this. Now that you have a kid, has that changed like any of your perspective, I guess, on how you train, or has it changed even? I know that you primarily taught classes before. Have you had to back off of that at all, or is everything
Um,
still about the same?
yeah, I mean, so when I got pregnant, it really slowed down. I didn't train at all because I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And then after having him, it did slow down a bit because I got really busy with him
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
so I've been kind of trying to pick it back up because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I kind of did, you know, let it go a little bit, not training as much, not teaching classes as much. my videos. I need to upload some videos actually, you know.
Yeah.
So, being a mom, it is hard, juggling all of that. And then we're working on the bourbon. And then I've also been working for a gun company. So definitely, but I would say as far as like my mindset, it's gotten more extreme as far as like wanting to protect myself and my son because
Mhm.
so before I had Colt and I would train, I would be like, okay, I would take it serious, but I'd be like, I'm protecting myself basically and my loved ones. But I've
Yeah.
never loved anyone as much as I love Colt.
Right, it's
Sorry to anybody
different.
else, but
Yeah, it's different.
yeah, like it's one of those things where somebody could be trying to stab one of my family members and I'm like, that's bad, let me shoot him. But if they're trying to stab Colt, it's like on a whole
Uh,
nother level,
yeah, the mama bear comes out.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I will literally die in the worst way to protect you.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it definitely made me more aware of danger
Mhm.
and my anxiety kind of went up more
Oh,
after having a
yeah.
kid.
I think that's pretty common, yeah.
So, and then I think it was like one day I decided to run to the grocery store and normally I carry my gun. There have been times, here and there where I just was like, oh, I'm just going to go do this real quick and I didn't bring my gun, which I don't recommend, that's dumb,
Yeah.
but we've all, I'm sure, done it.
Mhm.
And so one day I was like, let me go to the grocery store real quick. So I grabbed Colt, went to the grocery store, came back. It was like a 5-minute trip. And I was looking at my phone and I was like looking on TikTok or something. And a video popped up where there was this lady about a month ago. She went to the grocery store with her 3-year-old, like close to the
Mhm.
same age as Colt. And as she was leaving the grocery store, she was pushing her cart. The baby was in like the little seat thing in the front.
Uh-huh.
And some lady, some like psycho crazy lady with a knife, she had like a butcher knife about that long, was following her outside
Oh
of the
my
parking lot.
gosh.
But the lady with the baby didn't even see her or notice her, so she probably didn't have situational awareness down or
Right,
anything like
yeah.
that. And then the lady, it was a random attack. Like it wasn't planned. She was just psycho out of her mind.
Yeah.
She ran up to the mom and the baby, started stabbing the mom a bunch of times with the knife, stabbed the baby a bunch of times.
Oh, no.
I think the mom tried to block the baby, but
Yeah.
she couldn't do that much because they were both getting stabbed.
Right, yeah.
And then eventually the lady with the knife just like ran off. The cops were called, the cops arrested her. They took the mom and the baby to the hospital. Well, the mom, they were able to fix her and she was able to survive her stab wounds.
Mhm.
But the baby ended up dying from
Oh,
bleeding
that's
to
so
death.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah, so after I saw that, I was like, I feel like that's like God speaking to me, like,
Yeah,
why
like,
did
be
you
prepared.
carry your gun? Why don't
Yeah.
slip up ever again?
Yeah. Well, and I know that I say this, like I said, I wasn't super into him before, but whenever it's just you and you only have to worry about you, if something was to happen, you only have to worry about getting yourself out.
Yeah,
And like if I'm out by myself at a grocery store and something pops off, and then if I'm there with my kids and something happens, like those two situations look, really different.
yeah,
Because now I'm having to worry about like not just me, but I have these three. I'm doing it like they're still small, like
yeah,
around me, and my youngest is almost as tall as me now. But
yeah,
I have these three that I'm like having to make sure that I get to safety. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so it's gonna look a little bit different.
Yeah, and I feel like it's really hard when they're young enough to where you really can't communicate with them because
Yeah.
you really have to figure out, okay, what do I do with them in this moment? And I think I've had this conversation with Kayla, and I was like, I'm a little bit worried because Colt was stupid fly because
Yeah.
Colt was
Gnat.
still in like his little car seat, that you carry
Mm-hmm.
around. And I was like, well, if somebody like there's a mass shooter or somebody's gonna attack me or something, and I have to pull my gun and use it, what do I do with Colt? Because I don't want to just leave him while he's getting trampled by people or who knows what could happen to him.
Yeah.
So do I just keep him in one hand and shoot with the other hand or and it's heavy, it's a car
It
seat. And she
is.
was
Yeah.
like, throw the baby and start shooting.
Yeah.
She's like, I know that sounds bad, but just chuck that baby into a corner in his car seat and go to work.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that is your best option right there because that's all you
Mm-hmm.
can really do. Because I also don't want to be holding my son while I'm in a gunfight
Yep.
because the worst place he could be is downrange from
Yeah.
the coming fire. So I feel like they should make a class designated just for moms that have little babies like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could make a class like that, I think I would, but I would definitely have to do more research and,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
one of the things that like Charles just took the fight last week, or yeah, it was last week now. But we my kids are here all the time. We homeschool and it's summer right now, so even if we didn't, they would be around. But we actually incorporated them into the shoot house, like letting them be a part of the scenarios because whenever children are present, like it was kind of funny. Kayla's kids were here as well, and the kids like wanted to be a part of it, right? Like her
Yeah.
kids are a little bit younger than mine, so mine knew like this isn't real, like it's fine, and we made sure that they didn't get hurt. And Kayla's kids are a little bit younger, and they wanted to go, and we same kind of rundown, like it was totally fine, but one of them was like, "This is getting kind of scary," and ended up like real tears ended up happening,
Oh,
and
really?
Charles knows them, right? Because he's went and had like dinner with us and we've known him for a while now. And like it definitely upped the adrenaline factor
Yeah.
because now he sees like these people that he actually knows, their kids, one of them's actually crying, like they got kind of scared. And so he was like, that was way more intense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I do think that there's ways that like even if maybe like we can't put a baby in the shoot house, right? Like
Yeah.
obviously, but you could have a car seat and put a baby doll in it, right?
Yeah.
Because again, like we have people that come and do these and you're only going to get out what you put in.
Yeah.
So whenever they come to do these scenarios, if they're not taking it seriously and they're like looking at it as a paintball match or whatever, like they're not going to get anything out of it. But if you're
Yeah.
like, that's a bad guy, they're trying to kill me, or like, I don't actually know that person, then you get so much more out of it. And so
Yeah.
we could put like a little baby in a car seat, and
Yeah, that
like
would
like a little baby doll, maybe even put a little crying thing behind them.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That would be good because I think just society in general caters to like women and children because I think
Hmm.
naturally human beings want to protect, the weaker and more innocent.
Yeah.
So, and in society, there's women and children everywhere. You go to the mall, you go to Walmart, you see women and children. So,
Hmm.
I think that would be good to have more young actors and like women and innocent people
Yeah.
in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we're stuck to kind of like whoever's here to role play, but whenever we
Yeah.
do get like women and younger kids, it definitely makes for I think a better experience for some of our scenarios. Like we don't want to give any of them necessarily away, but we do like if we know you, we are able to kind of alter the scenario a little bit to fit
Hmm.
that would be more realistic for you,
Yeah.
which is kind of a cool thing, right? And so it's like, hey, you're gonna go in here, like, who's your wife? And so then it's like, okay, well, this woman is gonna pretend to be your wife today. And so like
Yeah.
you're gonna call them by that name and they're gonna talk with you. And while again, there's some imagination that has to occur. If you actually envision that as like that's your wife going into the scenario or, your daughter or whoever, it ups the ante. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've mentioned you guys are running a bourbon company now. You do your firearms training. I know like you're doing some stuff online. You're super busy. How do you find or what do you do to balance all of that? Because you have so much going on.
I
You're
know.
so well accomplished and you have so many things like you're balancing. How do you do that?
Thank you. I'm trying to figure that out still, Like I
Yeah.
don't know because number one, I feel like people say this a lot, but I feel like it's true. Just being a mom is really hard and that's
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the hardest jobs that I've had to do because he's constantly needing attention and, catering to and all these things. So, it's one of those things where there's two of us, thank goodness, me and Joe, so we kind of could like
Yeah.
work together and balance off each other and he'll answer emails and he'll be on the phone doing meetings to set up the bourbon and checking the labels and doing all those things and then I'll take care of Colt and make him breakfast, do these things. And then when I have to do webinars because I do for those watching, gun webinars
Mm-hmm.
online now and work for a gun company. So when I have to go online and sorry, there's like a hair. When I have to go online and do that, Joe will watch Cole, keep him entertained, keep him quiet so I can go live and do the auctions. And so we just kind of like, I don't know, we just make it work, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just kind of, I guess you just kind of have to figure it out, right? Like,
Yeah,
you want to make it work, you just kind of have to. And do you
yeah,
find like you're busy from pretty much the time you wake up till the time you go to bed?
pretty much. Some
Yeah.
days we have more chill days, which those are
Yeah.
nice, but pretty much when we wake up and then go to bed, we're constantly doing stuff. We still like to travel too, so we try to travel as much as we can and get
Yeah.
stuff done while we're traveling. So,
Very cool. So, back to the firearms training, right? I want to ask you two, one, out of all your classes, which one is your favorite one to teach? And out of all the ones that you've taken, which one was your favorite? And don't feel obligated to say
Oh
fighting
yeah.
pistol. It can be like you won't hurt my feelings.
Well, it's funny because people always ask me that, and it's always the same answer, and
Yeah.
so you're gonna like the answer. But so the first question was how what's my favorite class to teach?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like teaching my pistol classes. I know that sounds really boring and basic, but
Yeah,
I just
that's
feel the
fine.
most confident in that class. And then some of our other classes, like we have a medical class, and then we do force on force classes. We bring extra people in to help because I feel like I'm the most qualified to teach pistol classes, not
Uh-huh.
so much like the medical classes, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So just really the pistol class is my favorite to teach because I see a lot of women that are really struggling and they get frustrated. And I've had a lot of women cry when they came and took my class because
Yeah,
the noise scared them. And when I see them cry, it kind of like touches my heart because I'm like, I was once there before,
right.
because I remember looking back at videos. When I first took a class, I was like jumping and nervous and scared when I was shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm very confident in myself shooting and I'm not scared to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like seeing that because I like see myself in them and then I know what it takes to get them to where they need to be. So,
Right. Yeah.
and then your other question
Was
was,
what was your
oh,
favorite one to actually take?
my favorite one to take is fighting shotgun with Tim Morris.
That's one of my favorite classes too,
Really?
actually. Yeah, I think it's one of the most fun classes that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was fun. Number one, because it's Tim and he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then number two, I love shotguns. They're like my favorite.
Yeah, they're so
So,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah. And so our fighting shotgun class is the only one that we have, well, other than I guess our fast and accurate stuff, but out of what we teach regularly, fighting shotgun is the only one that has a little bit of like competition in it.
Yeah.
And it was just so much fun. Like Joey, he's actually told me because I was kind of nervous to take the shotgun class actually because I was kind of like it's kind of heavy and I was scared it was going to kind of beat me up and I ended up just having so much fun, and Joey encouraged me to do it because he was like, Heather, it is our most fun class that we have. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I can't. Like, I don't think so. And he was like, no, but really. And the drills that are done are really fun.
Yeah.
Like, there's the one-handed drill on the ground,
Oh, yeah. That one
and
was
that
interesting.
one is so much fun. They pulled that out of that Miami Shootout book.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, yeah. But anyway, it was just really fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is really fun. When did you take it?
About 2 years ago now. It was in
Oh, okay.
January, and it was surprisingly like it was pretty cold, but because we were moving so much, it really wasn't that bad. But
Yeah.
it's been about 2 years, and I ran two separate shotguns through the class, and it always shocks everybody. I don't even remember which kind it was, but James called it the shorty. So it was a shorter shotgun and it was a pump action. And then the second day, I ran a 1301, which is a semi auto. And everyone was pretty shocked because I was like, I actually preferred the pump action. And I don't know if it's
Yeah.
just because
Me
like it
too.
was more fun or what, but I was like, I enjoyed shooting that one more.
I know. I feel like maybe you just feel cooler, like go,
Yeah. Well, and at first, like you could tell that I didn't have a whole lot of reps with it because, like, it would like I would shoot and then it would take me a second to like pull it back and go and by the end of the first day I was just pretty seamless, right? Like as soon as it went off it would come forward like back and forward,
Yeah.
right? And then I was going again and again.
Same here.
And
Yeah, like with the recoil, I would rack, you
yeah.
know,
So it was
the
always kind of
shotgun.
one smooth movement by the end. And so
Yeah.
you just feel good when you got that down and it's like flowing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Exactly.
So what was your favorite part of the shotgun class? Like what made it
Um, I liked so I can give it away, right? For those. Well, it's not a surprise or
Yeah,
anything, right?
none of the shotgun class isn't like some of the other stuff, like the force on force, you know?
Yeah. I really liked when Tim showed you that you can shoot like under a car and you can skip rounds up.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, I was like, and then the hostage shot. I
Mm.
always remember that one because I've been watching movies and stuff where people are like, "I'm gonna shoot you," and they have a hostage, and they're like, "Well, you got a shotgun, so you can't." And I'm like, "Actually, they can,"
Yeah.
like just using the bird shot and then aiming above the bad guy's head, just like a little bit, so that way some of the
Mhm.
pellets will hit the bad guy, and
Yeah. And
so
I liked day 2, we have the ones where it was you would take 3 different kinds of the ammo and you got to do for the different distances.
oh
Do you
yeah,
remember doing
I
that?
remember that. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool
that
too.
one was really fun. Like I was kind of nervous about the further shot and then once I got it I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is like it felt really good.
Yeah, and actually I have a video on my fighting shotgun on my YouTube channel. So for those watching, if you want to see
Oh
my
yeah.
video, go to American Gun Chick, fighting shotgun tactical response,
Yeah.
and
Very
check it out.
cool. So we've been talking a lot about all your classes and all of your training. Is there anybody on your list that you're like, I haven't trained with them yet and I really want to?
Probably Clint Smith,
Yeah, he's on mine
Thunder.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't been out there, and I hope I can make it out there.
Yeah. So we were looking, and for those watching, like, invite only. But
Yeah.
would you we were talking about going out there maybe next year and wanting to
Oh,
kind
that'd
of
be
reach out
cool.
to Clint and Heidi. If we go, do you guys want us to like send you some details when we got it worked out? Maybe we can line it up where we
Yeah,
can all go together. That'd be really fun.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, we've talked about like trying to get like a bus that's like a 16 passenger van and having
Yeah,
like our closest friends like all pile in and see if we can't like pay them like a tactical response like class, right? Where it's like all
yeah,
of our people go and they take us through one of their
that would be
classes.
awesome. I would love to
Yeah.
do that.
I have no
So
idea if they'll actually let us, if they have the
yeah,
time or anything like that, but that's something that we were wanting to kind of reach out and be like, if we can guarantee this many people, like, can
yeah,
we be on the schedule next year?
yeah, that would be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah, well, because he was James's like main mentor. Like he like really
Yeah,
looked up to him. And so that's somebody that I'm like, I really want to actually. I've never met him in person,
yeah,
and so I'm like, I really want to meet you. I've talked to him and his wife Heidi on the phone, but I
yeah.
haven't got to actually meet them.
Because I consider James like my mentor because he took me under his wing, gave me all this training, and then so if that's James's mentor, I'm like,
Hmm.
that's really cool. I need to go meet because he's like the goat, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, he was one of many of James's mentor, but James thought so highly of him.
yeah,
Yeah, and so I'm just like, for how important he was to James, I'm like, I have to meet you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Got to make that happen.
Yeah. And so that actually goes perfectly with the next question is who all would you consider a mentor? I know that you said James, but is there anybody else out there that you're like you kind of look up to them and maybe go to them for advice or anything?
Yeah, I would definitely say James would be like number one because he was, the cool thing about him is he was the first one to reach out to me and offer me training when everybody
Uh-huh.
else was just like kind of hating on me and giving me crap.
Right, yeah.
Because, I mean, I understand why they were giving me crap because I didn't know any firearm safety. I didn't know any fundamentals. I didn't know anything. So
Yeah.
it's justified at that point. But James was man enough to be like, hey, come out here. Let's fix this.
Yeah, like he's actually going to show you how to fix it, not just make you feel bad about it.
Yeah. So I definitely would say him number one.
Mhm.
But some of the other people I've trained with, like some of the Benghazi guys, like Boone and Tonto, the 13 hours of Benghazi
Uh-huh.
guys. I've trained with them, and I would definitely say them too because they were like really great guys, really nice guys. Carl Erickson,
Mhm.
do you know who? Are you familiar with that?
Mm-mm. I don't
He
know
has
that
a
name.
YouTube channel, Tactical Rifleman, and
Okay.
I've trained with him a few times too, and he's just an awesome guy. Like, I
Yeah.
I just love his personality. He's really nice, really sweet, and he's one of those guys where he will treat you like gold just because he's a great guy. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say just like some of those people that I've trained with, I would really like look up to, and I feel like if I had a question about something, like I would go to them. And then just like the instructors at Tactical Response, like and some of the old instructors, like Calvin, all those guys.
Yeah.
I feel like if I ever had a question, Lewis, I would
Mhm.
just hit them up and be like, hey, give me some advice. So
Yeah, well, and they were around James so much that some of them can even tell you, like, this is what we think that, James might have told me at one point. Maybe they had a question similar. And
yeah,
there's enough people that talk to James on like a regular basis that I've been able to ask them, like, hey, like, I kind of had a question. Like, what would James really think about this? Like, do you know? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I got to ask him.
yeah,
And it's kind of neat too because you can go on YouTube and I can type in like into the search bar, like I'll see something and I'm like, I haven't really heard of that before. Like, did James ever talk about it? And I can go in the search bar on YouTube and like type it in, and it's crazy being able to watch my dad like talk to like I feel like he's talking to me,
yeah,
about gun stuff that I'm like didn't think to ask until just now.
yeah,
And so I'm still getting his opinion on it. Granted, like times change and maybe something crazy came out, and it like it maybe his opinion could be different on it now, but
yeah,
I knew what it was then, and that's kind of a neat thing,
yeah. I think that is cool because sometimes I'll go back and watch his older videos, and sometimes I'll watch my older videos, and James is in my videos because he was in a lot of my videos, training out here and stuff, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. It's like he's here right now watching this on
Yeah,
the screen. So it's
yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's kinda neat to have that cache, like, of videos, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's something that I didn't really think about before, but, like, whenever you make YouTube videos, and it's kinda neat to think that those will be there, you know? And
Yeah.
so, like, people can go back and watch them, like, at a later date, you know?
Exactly. That's kind of why I really like having this channel too, because one day when I don't exist, I can go back, or not me, but other people can go back. My
Yeah.
son can go back and watch those videos and be like,
Yeah.
this is my mom. So it's like a diary kind of.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, earlier I mentioned Surviving Man, and I think that's super cool. That's what it was called, right? The TV
Yeah.
show that you were on? And so was it exactly what you expected? Was there anything that you did that you were like, "Oh my god, I did not expect that
Y-
to happen?"
yeah, everything. Like, so
Yeah.
originally, Joe signed me up for this. So screw you, Joe. No, I was kidding.
Oh, yeah.
So Joe signed me up. He sent like an email out and then they responded, all that stuff. He was like, "Hey, do you want to go do this TV show? It's like a summer camp and they're looking at putting it like on TV, like one of the TV stations, whoever picks it up." And then I was like, can you give me more details?" "Oh, it's just going to be like a summer camp, with like a Navy
Oh,
SEAL summer camp." And I was like, "Okay," and then I had just had Colt 3 months like after that. Or I was 3 months postpartum is what I meant to say.
oh my gosh, so you
And
weren't that far out whenever it happened.
yeah, like I was 3 months postpartum, closer to 4 months, like somewhere in between. And then so we signed me up. I went out there, and then as soon as I got there, it was crazy. It was 7 days of just nonstop, 12-hour days where you're just working out, you're running, you're doing all these crazy things. And I didn't
Yeah.
really realize that it was this crazy. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys can watch it. There's like a highlight reel on my YouTube channel, but the first day I went there, you have to do PT. Like when you're in the
Mhm.
military, you do a couple hours of PT every morning.
Right,
So
yeah.
the first day, they wanted to see how physically fit we are. So we had to do as many push ups as we could do, sit ups, burpees, leg lifts, like all kinds of things. I don't even know the name of different
Yeah.
workouts. And I was like, I had a good spirit at first. I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's a hard workout, but you got lots of energy in the morning, right?
Right, yeah.
And then during like lunchtime, I was like, all right, I'm starting to get kind of tired. We went back and we had to do a bunch of ropes courses. One of the ropes courses, I was struggling so hard to get up. Two guys quit like halfway through the ropes course.
Yeah.
There was one where you had to, I can't remember what it's called, but this machine, you went like this and it brings you up the tree. And two guys were like tapping out and they like let go and they brought him down. So I was like, I got to do it. It took me like 10 minutes to get up there.
But you did
And
it.
but I finished it. So and everyone was clapping for me. So
Yeah.
in that moment, I felt like a badass and I felt really good and
You,
proud of.
totally are a badass.
Thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
so I felt really proud of myself in that moment. And then some of the guys were just getting up there in like 2 seconds, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how you're doing that.
Yeah, no, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, it was crazy. But towards the end of the day, I think it was like 8 o'clock at night. They had us there
Mhm.
since like 8 in the morning, and it was like 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, damn.
They were like, all right, we're gonna be doing the shooting portion. We're gonna be shooting this and this. And I got to the point where I was like, I was getting like a really bad headache, and
Mhm.
I could feel like the heat exhaustion, like
Yeah.
maybe heat stroke-ish a little bit. And I was like, I need some water. So I was chugging coconut water. I was just exhausted, not feeling good. I kind of like broke down and I was like crying and I was like, I feel terrible. Like I gotta go. Like I feel like I'm gonna have like a heat stroke.
Mhm.
I was worried about my health and they were like,
Yeah.
you know what? We got like an hour left. Go home. Just relax. We'll see you tomorrow. I went home and I was like, Joe, I gotta quit. We gotta leave. Like I cannot do this. And then he was like, are you sure you want to quit? And I was like, yeah. And then we were in the hotel and I was watching the TV and then Mulan came on. Have you
Mhm.
seen Mulan?
Yeah.
And the scene where she's climbing up that big long tower and she has
Yeah.
those metal things and
Mhm.
she finally makes it and she shoots the arrow into the ground. I was watching that and for some reason it like inspired me and I'm like, I'm not gonna quit.
Yeah.
So I went back the next day and then the next day it was hard still, but every day after that wasn't as hard as the first day. The first
Yeah.
day was the hardest. And so I just did it. I stuck with it. I wouldn't say that I was the fastest or the strongest in my group at all because
Mhm.
it was a lot of it was kind of like Navy SEAL. I wouldn't say quite Navy SEAL, but it was like military training.
Mhm.
Every day we did PT. Some days they were like, "All right, we're going to do some compass work and some like mapping work." I'm like, "Oh, an easy day finally."
Yeah.
But what I realized was that means we're going to like run 10 miles through the woods nonstop.
Oh my god.
And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, this is not easy."
Yeah. Well, and especially like being only 3 months postpartum, like
Yeah,
that's not long after like maternity leave ends.
I
You know
know.
what I mean?
Yeah,
So like your body is still healing. I can imagine that was like that was
yeah,
super like the fact that you did that shortly after having a baby is like really impressive.
yeah.
But
Thank you. I mean,
yeah.
I was proud of myself because even on day one, crying in front of
Mhm.
like the people that were hosting the show, and that was hard for me because I don't like to cry in front of anybody. I feel
Yeah.
like so vulnerable and like a big baby, and but I was like
Yeah.
to my limit, you know?
Yeah, no, like for sure. And I do think like I don't know, I don't want to speak for like all women or anything, but for me, if especially again, like I don't know what the ratio was of like men to women whenever you were doing that,
Oh, yeah.
but were
There,
you like how many women were on there?
so I think there was, let me think again. I think there was like 20 or 30 in total of people, and there was
Uh-huh.
only like three women, me included. So there
Yeah.
was me and then two other women. But the other
Mm-hmm.
girl that was on the show is like, that was like her third season, and
Oh, wow, yeah.
she's like one of those fitness people, one of those
Mm-hmm.
women that's like, and then the other one was like a girl that, this really sweet girl that she, works out too and trains. So I was really like, I know it sounds bad, but like the weakest person there. Like I
I
was,
mean, you didn't tap out though. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
doing
mentally,
the thing, right?
yeah, like mentally I was pretty strong. Just physically, I
Yeah.
think I was lacking,
Right.
compared to everyone
You had
else.
the right mindset.
Yeah, I had the mindset, just not
Yeah.
the gear.
Yeah.
But I am really happy that I did it because now that I look back at it, it's made me stronger, like a stronger person, and it kind of
Yeah.
showed me like what I can do. And it showed me that like when you're doing something mentally, you quit first before your body quits.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
after that, I was like, you know what? I want to do 30 hard. And it's like 30 days of two 45-minute workouts, a gallon of water every day, a strict diet of like no sugar, no carbs every day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the workouts has to be outside, no alcohol for 30 days. And that was tough too, because
Yeah.
imagine, I mean, just dieting for people is really hard in
Yeah.
general. And then two 45-minute workouts every day. That was hard, but I think I looked back at Surviving Man. I'm like, if I did that, I can do this.
Right.
And I got
Yeah.
it done. So,
Yeah. And I know, at least for me, like if I overcome something and it's really difficult, the more difficult things that you overcome, it feels like the easier it gets to overcome them, kind of. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like you're kind of I don't know. The only way I can think of to describe it is like a callus almost that you're
Yeah.
like forming, that
Exactly.
you're like as they happen, it's like, okay, there's another layer on the callus and now there's
Exactly.
another one. And so it's just easier to overcome it. 'Cause you're like, oh, well, if I could do that, then I can for sure do this.
You know what? That's true because my mindset's changed as I gotten older because when I was younger, I used to avoid things that made me uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
or things that I didn't like. I would always try to just, experience happy feelings and happy things. But now I've noticed that I try to put myself in uncomfortable situations and I
Mm-hmm.
try to do things that I don't want to do and that I don't like doing because it creates growth
Yeah.
and it makes you become a stronger person with the callus and all that stuff like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So like, like public speaking, if someone's like, "Hey, can someone come up here like and talk about something?" or if I get an opportunity to put myself out there and embarrass myself, I'll
Mm-hmm.
do it because I'm like the more I do that, the more I'm going to get comfortable doing that and
Yeah.
become a better person or just like doing 30 hard or surviving man. I've told myself like, if it's raining or something, I'm gonna go for a run and make myself uncomfortable because it'll make me a stronger person.
Right. Yeah. Well, and something that I feel like is you can almost obviously to a certain degree like um acclimate yourself to almost anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I guess I say that like with the mental toughness, like overcoming the hardships, and I've kind of taken that in myself. Like I'm really scared of heights. I didn't used to be scared of heights, but then I didn't do anything that made me go up
yeah,
high for a while, right? For like years. And one day we were with our kids and I went to take them over a glass bridge to show them. I was like, "Hey, like come and check this out." And I had been there like years prior, and whenever we went, I like froze. And
yeah,
I had no idea it was coming. And I was like, oh shit. And Joey, my husband, he was like, Heather, are you okay? And I was like, my legs just kind of quit working. And once
yeah.
I realized that I was scared of heights, like for someone who's scared of heights, I go up high a lot because I'm trying to get myself used to it. Cause I'm like, if I can do it enough, then I feel like my fear of heights will go away.
Yeah.
And so, like, I took the kids hiking like 2 weeks ago, and it was like super narrow, like hundreds of feet. And I was just like, this is fine. This is fine. And
Yeah.
of course, they're like, woo, we're having so much fun. And I'm like, my legs are shaking, but I'm like making myself go, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I just think that the more that you expose yourself to that kind of stuff, like you said, there's a bunch of growth that happens.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things, one of the biggest like personality traits or things that somebody can have that I see very highly of is mental toughness. I think
Yeah.
mental toughness is a really like cool attribute to have. So I
Yeah.
kind of want to have that as much as I can. But with
Mm-hmm.
having mental toughness, you have to like really put yourself through it, you know?
Yeah. Like you have to go through hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something like it's kind of, I don't know, I guess it's a little cliche, but that's something that I have to like tell myself sometimes if I'm like going through something, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I can do hard things. And I like have to remind myself like all the hard things that I've done to this point. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I almost like a mantra, you know, like I can do
Exactly.
hard things. And I know I can.
Yeah, and you know, mental toughness can be built even through more than just like working out and stuff. It can be
Mm-hmm.
like if you lost a loved one or going through a breakup, and
Yeah.
that builds mental toughness too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So on a bit of a lighter note, the last thing that I had to talk about with you was you were wearing a Heraclitus Select shirt.
Oh,
You
yeah.
and Joe started a bourbon company. And what kind of inspired you guys to do that? Like you have all these different things that you guys have kind of dabbled in, right? And
Yeah.
what inspired the bourbon company to kind of come about?
So I will be honest, the bourbon really came more from Joe.
Yeah.
He's really into bourbon, and I am supporting it because, you know, I love Joe, and so I want to support it. And I think
Yeah.
it's really cool, and so it's really more his thing, kind of.
Okay, so
Um,
you're just kind of helping him and making sure, kind of like he helps you with the
American,
firearms, and so
yeah.
you're going to help him with this?
Yeah, like I'm
Okay.
American Gun Chic and he's the Heraclitus Select brand kind of.
Yeah.
But like but I do love the bourbon because it's really good bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
But we have some friends in Kentucky and we went out there because they wanted us to come out there and host a class for them and teach all these women to shoot. So we went out there, we did the class, and then when we were in Kentucky, it's the home of the bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
So they took us on these tours and we got to see like the old rick houses and we got to see all the barrels and we got to try samples of it, all that stuff. And then I think that's when Joe just really got into all the bourbon because he started
Yeah.
sampling all of it and he was like, this stuff is awesome. Like he found his new hobby kind of, you know?
Yeah.
And so one of the ladies that the wife of the guy that invited us out to do the class, she's actually a barrel broker. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of like houses, how people sell houses, she sells barrels.
Okay.
Lots and lots of barrels. So he was like, "Hey, can we get a barrel? Like that's kind of interesting." And she was talking to him about it. Well, we ended up going through someone else, but someone else sold Joe the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it kind of just started like that. He was like, "This is a really good idea. I like the Heraclitus, you know, the nines and the ones." Um, so we kind of wanted to market it towards people that are like people that train, tactical response people, people that are. I wish I had the exact quote on me so I could read you the Heraclitus
I know that's
quote.
what Tim tries to do it all the time, and he butchers it every
The
time.
Heraclitus quote.
Yeah, and I don't know it verbatim either, and I would hate
Yeah.
to do it incorrectly.
And if Joe was here, he could say it exactly because he
Yeah.
knows it. And I should have it memorized, but I don't. So it
Yeah.
might be on the back of my
Yeah,
shirt.
I'm
But
like maybe like Shelton, can you do some like editing magic and like throw it up there?
yeah, it goes a little something like I'm not going to get it right, but like out of every 100 men that go into war, 80 are just targets. 9 are the true fighters. Ah, but the one will be the one to bring them all back home.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, saying like, you know, if we're out in the mall or something, if I could describe it in like modern times, if we're out in the mall and somebody's shooting up the mall, 80 of the people in there are just going to be targets, just running around getting shot. 9 people are going to be the true fighters, like maybe people, and it could be anything, you know, maybe people helping old ladies off the floor
Yeah.
or shooting back at the guy or opening the door for people, calling 911, you know, helping. But
Mm-hmm.
the one will be like the James Yeager or
Yeah.
the Heather or the Kayla or the tactical response alumni guy that happened to be in the mall that day. And
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that's going to put that guy down and then get everyone together and be, you know, wrapping tourniquets,
Yeah.
patching wounds, all that stuff. So our bourbon is like for the nines and the ones, the people that are like the The ones that are the protectors, basically.
Yeah. Well, and what's kind of cool is James told me that quote. I mean, God, I don't even remember the first time that I heard it, right? Because
Yeah.
I grew up with him talking about it all the time. And something that he pointed out is that's not even something just for like firearms training. That
Yeah.
almost relates to anything. Like let's say there's 100 accountants, right? Like a huge portion of those aren't very good accountants. There's
Yeah.
gonna be 9 that are like, they're pretty fucking good accountants, but there's 1
Yeah.
that they're like the best of the best, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's kind of anything that you get into, right? Out of every 100 of anything,
Yeah.
like most of them are gonna be kind of shit, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of cool how it relates to everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, because it's not just towards
Yeah.
firearms and carrying your gun. It's really about just like the person that you are and the mindset that you have, and being the best at whatever you do, and being a good person, helping other people out, and
Yeah.
you know. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, I know I'm really excited. I am not really a drinker, but I know like at James we called it the big ass party because he said anything else, he wouldn't
Yeah.
have it. He was like it's a little gay if you call it like a memorial service or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I had a little bit to drink on that night. It was literally just like a sip of it because I didn't really want to like I don't drink to get drunk or anything.
Yeah.
And so Joey loves bourbon. And so I know that he's super excited to get it and we can't wait to I probably won't drink it except on special occasions, but he's like a sipper, where
Yeah.
he'll like turn on a movie and he'll like share it with his friends and stuff like that. And so I
Yeah.
know that he'll be busting it out all the time whenever he's
That's
hanging out with his
awesome.
friends to be sipping on.
Yeah, and I'm not really a big drinker either. I'll have a few drinks here or there, and I wasn't really a big bourbon person either until I tried our bourbon. I'm like, this is actually really good. Like,
Yeah.
it's got a little bit of a burn, but it doesn't like burn bad when it goes down. It's just
Mhm.
got enough to where like some people like that little bit of a bite,
Uh-huh.
and then it's just smooth going down,
Yeah.
and it smells good too. I like sniff testing it too. So
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, Brickell, thank you so much for being on the show. But why don't, before we leave, tell everybody where can they find you? Do you have any new stuff coming up that you want to talk, like kind of let them know about? Let them know like all your
yeah.
socials so they can look you up and check you out.
Okay, yeah. So for those of you that aren't sure about, have never seen me before on here, go to American Gun Chick on YouTube. You can also go to American Gun Chick on Instagram and Facebook. That's where I upload all of my stuff. Or you can go to AmericanGunchick.com or HoneyBadgerUSA.com, and that's where I'm going to be posting where I'm doing all of my classes and upcoming classes, stuff like that. We're going to be having some classes coming up in the fall. We don't do them during
Yeah.
the summertime because we're in Texas and it's
Oh, yeah, I bet it's fucking
so hot.
hot.
People
Yeah.
get way too hot during the summertime to do classes. So we'll do some in the fall. And yeah, check out our bourbon. You can go to heraclitusselect.com and you can actually you can do your pre-order for your bourbon right now. So we have the Birdsong blend, which is collaboration through you guys.
Yeah.
And then we have the Tactical Rifleman blend, which is Tactical Rifleman. So yeah, anything else I'm missing?
I don't think so. No, you covered all the socials and your upcoming stuff, so I think we're good.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on here. And I love just being here and hanging out with you guys and talking with Heather. So
Yeah, it's always a great time.
yeah.